Whether it's for vacation, to conduct business, or just relaxation, you can purchase a minimum of 1 day or any number of days desired up to 1 year. Atlantic Insurance offers certified and reliable insurance policies from well-established Mexican insurance companies. For more information, you can visit any of our offices located countrywide or call 223-2657. To purchase online, visit our website at aicbelize.com. Travel with the best insurance coverage. Travel secure. Travel with peace of mind. Travel with Atlantic Insurance, insuring you from life's unexpected.
Saga Humane Society reminds you that if you see an animal that is abandoned, sick, being abused, or a dog that is being very aggressive, please report it immediately to Saga Humane Society at 226-3266. Saga cares about our community and is always available to serve. Saga, la Sociedad Protectora de Animales, les avisa que se encuentran un animal que está abandonado, abusado, enfermo o un perro muy agresivo. Por favor, llame a Saga de inmediato al número 226-3266. Saga, siempre con el interés de nuestra comunidad y siempre dispuestos a servir.
Electricity is essential for everyday life, but behind every outlet, a lot is happening to bring you safe, reliable, and sustainable energy. Let's start at the beginning. Independent power producers across Belize generate electricity using a mix of renewable and non-renewable resources. Electricity travels across a network of high-voltage transmission lines capable of transmitting electricity across long distances. Electricity then reaches your nearest substation, where it is adjusted to a lower voltage, making it safe to travel on the distribution lines you see in your community. From there, electricity makes its final journey from the distribution lines to your home, providing you with safe and reliable power when you need it. Belize Electricity Limited. We continue to serve you.
Get between Belize City, Key Cocker, and San Pedro on a ferry faster than anyone else with Caribbean Sprinter. You better Belize it. Get with us online at sprinter.bz.
Welcome back to another episode of Are You Ready? Hurricane Preparedness 2025. Today with us we have a very special guest, Mr. Philip Billy Leslie, and he will be telling us of his many roles and responsibility that he serves the island of San Pedro and the San Pedro Nemo EOC. Mr. Billy, welcome.
Thank you very much, Ms. Vanessa. It is a pleasure to be here to share with our populace, with our San Pedranos, and also people from Key Cocker about what to do when the warnings of storms start to come by. We have to keep in mind that we are on an island. That means there is water all around us. The deep blue water in front of us and the shallow inner lagoon behind us. So when storms are coming, it is up to us to be prepared, to plan, so that we can minimize damages both to our property and lives first and foremost. As chairman or president of the San Pedro Tour Guide Association, where many of our members own boats, it is up to myself representing the committee to share information to our members about protecting their properties and that involves the moving of vessels into safe harbors around the mangroves. That is the most ideal thing to do with vessels, so that the mangroves can protect it. We try to move early so that everyone has a chance to find the proper space, the proper areas, and ensure that we don't stay in the way of waves that start to come before the storms, right? So we need to move early, get there to a right location, secure the vessels properly. Make sure that if you tie it and leave it over water, that your batteries are full of charge and your bilge pump is running, because we will definitely get rains. That's what you want to do. Tie it in a way that you remember that you will get winds from two directions, because a storm is circular. You will get the first part and then the second part as it passes through. So tie your boat from all directions. If you're going to put your boat up on land, make sure you don't put it in a place that it can cause and become a hazard to the traffic. So if you pull it, let's say at the back area, don't put it too close to the street, and then water table rises and it puts it right on the street, because the street has to be used for emergency purposes. Plan these things early. Why do we plan them early? Because then we have to go and deal with our families, our lives, our homes. So we plan that part early. Some of our guides come from the mainland, so we have to plan early and then give them time to go back home and to secure their families back on the mainland as well. So that's one of the roles I do as the president of the Tour Guide Association. I also dialogue with many of the operators and also have good ties with the tour operators on the island, that we can have vessels on standby if the case comes up that we have to have a mass evacuation of people. Remember, sometimes these storms give us very short time, so there are times that we need all types of transportation, from public to private, and to move them to the mainland. Because of being an island, water can then become our enemy. When storms come by, water table rises. That's the first part. Then that water table going up, we are to the highest point. Maybe on the north part of the island, we probably get 6 to 7 feet above sea level, but most of us live within 3.5 to 4 feet above sea level. So if the water table comes up 5 feet, the whole island of San Pedro is now underwater. Then you add the other feature, which is the waves that are being pushed by the storm itself. Hoping that with all our planning, we don't get the wrath of a very heavy hurricane. We are very thankful of having a barrier reef in front of us, which greatly will reduce the size of those waves. But still, on our coast, which do not have mangroves anymore on the eastern side, we are left with wave action just battering the sand that is there, and it's very easy to erode. So those are problems that we will encounter. But the purpose of planning is key here. Planning how to use your time effectively. If you have a dive operation or an operation on a dock, remove all your belongings from there, because those docks are only sitting on top of sand. It is very easy for water to come and hit it from the bottom, removing it, breaking it to pieces, and they end up on the beach. So planning is important. Remove all those things, put them in a safe place. Move your vessels. There is no way The eastern side is a safe harbor for boats, no matter the size. Move them to an area by mangroves to be able to help you, because the mangroves absorb wave action.
Thank you, Mr. Billy. That was very educational when it comes to our fisher folk and our fisher community in San Pedro in securing their vessels, both pre and during hurricane and post-hurricane as well. So, Mr. Billy, can you educate our public and talk to us about your roles and responsibility as search and rescue and an emergency responder in the San Pedro EOC?
Yes, Ms. Vanessa. As a search and rescue, we share together with the Belize Coast Guard. Why we share together with the Belize Coast Guard? Well, it gives them a lot of local knowledge about the areas around here which they don't have. Some of them, when they do obtain that knowledge, they get transferred somewhere else. But being part of the Tour Guide Association and working together with the tour operator associations, we have the use of a lot of boats. And what we have to do in these specific times is ensure that, one, we don't have boats out there conducting tours and putting people's life at risk. We don't have boats out there running around trying to play hero. We don't have operators leaving all of their equipment and investment up on the docks. So we have to ensure that we communicate with all of these. And remember, we're on an island, and we do have people that are far off from the island and also the adjacent islands. So we have to ensure that they get the message as well, so that they can do their preparations, do their movements, and so forth. And it also gives us the opportunity to mark where somebody is if they don't move. Where do we have to go look for these people on the event that they choose not to move?
So, Mr. Billy, can we touch on, just as a search and rescue responder, you share the search and rescue committee with Coast Guard, with police, fire department, our tour guide association, and we have willing tour guides that are ready and willing to assist us. But can you educate the residents on, as being a search and rescue and emergency responder, on what are the cautions pre and during and post hurricane?
Very well, Ms. Vanessa. To the general public, the purpose, the reason why we have this management is that we try to share information to you to prevent the loss of life. So we look at all of the scenarios that can be posed by a threatening storm, and we start to tell people when they should move, why they should move. Because if we wait for the last moment, then we may not have the opportunity to come and help you, because we may be either helping somebody or we don't think it's safe enough for us to go out there. So it is really important that you listen to the warnings, you pay attention to the radio, that this information comes out. Guys, we have to move, especially low-lying areas. Remember, we said earlier, a storm brings tide. That means the water goes up. Do not wait till your area, maybe you're living in San Mateo, is all flooded with water, and then you decide to move. Try to move early, especially our elders, our sick people. Let's try to move them out and put them in areas where they can get the proper help when needed. These have to be taken seriously, because if we do wait, there's the opportunity that help may not be available when you need it. Remember, you're not the only resident on the island. There are so many but we want to share this information so that we can do this and manage moving of people properly and safely.
Mr. Bill, let us look at when NEMO declares an official cutoff period. What would you like to caution the residents of San Pedro and for them to know when the official cutoff time is given? What advice would you like them to heed for our search and rescue committee?
Yes, for our residents, it is important we maintain communication and we listen, because these storms are approaching, and as they approach, the weather deteriorates. So we try to make and advise people, especially in low-lying areas, to move to higher areas. But if you choose to stay, make sure, one, you are not participating in the consumption of alcohol, because that will take away your logical thinking and you will make mistakes. And if you're a person that is a bread earner in the family, definitely don't engage into that, because people's lives, your family's lives, will depend on your decisions. Let's stay away from alcohol. Let's ensure that we make good decisions based on the information shared to us through the NEMO EOC and through the Reef Radio. Follow those advice, because there'll be a time when we there have to think about our lives as well. How good are we to help if we are not helping ourselves as well? So think of that. Move when you're asked to move. If you decide to stay, make sure you stay and you protect your family. Don't stay in low-lying buildings. Make sure you stay in a high building, because water will be a problem. Stay in places that you don't have leaky roofs, because then that becomes another problem. Make sure you choose the right buildings to stay. We are on an island. The wisest decision would be to leave to high grounds and come back later to your property. Remember, we can replace properties. We can't replace your life. So think strongly of that. And one of the biggest things I want to share with all of our populace, please stay away from alcohol.
During hurricane times, there's often a spike in domestic violence cases, so your heed and your caution to the residents so they do not consume alcohol is very well noted. What would you say to those people, the advice that you would give, Mr. Billy, when the official cutoff time for emergency responders in the search and rescue committee is given? And there's always going to be people who want to call in the 11th hour and need help for search and rescue. Could you elaborate and give them advice, and as a part of your role and your responsibility to the San Pedro EOC search and rescue committee?
Yes, Ms. Vanessa, there are times when, as the time goes, the storm starts to go, people chose not to move out of their area, and they're in a low-lying area. The building starts to lean, and they call, they need help, they have somebody that needs to move. Think of it. Sometimes it's very difficult. It's very difficult to go and help when the water table has risen. The vehicles can't pass. You have to resort to a boat. The boats can't get to the building where you are. That is the key reason why we ask people, if we're going to move, let's move early. Because there are times when no matter what equipment we have, we can't move. It's storming, it's lightning, it's raining, debris is flying all over the place. To go and help you, we may injure the lives of the responders. So that's why planning is key. We move when we can safely move. We button down in strong buildings that can withstand it. Not any building is capable of that. So we have to think of that. And there are times when the emergency has to say, we have to lock up, because when the storm passes, we will be needed as well. So how will we just send people there to get hurt, to get damaged, to get injured, and then we can't help when the storm has passed? That is key for people to know. Planning is important. Follow the advice of Nemo and all the information shared to you through Reef Radio.
Thank you, Mr. Billy, and well said. And as you heard him say, he is president of the Tour Guide Association, always warning fisher folks and operators alike what they should do pre, during, and post hurricane. He also serves on the Search and Rescue Committee for the San Pedro Nemo EOC. But now, Mr. Billy, I'd like to ask you, as a real San Pedrano and living out here, could you educate us on your experiences with past hurricanes on this island and what it was like for you and your families? Because as you can see, our storms are only getting stronger. We have to anticipate, like you said, storm surges, and we have to know our vulnerability. By the east, we have the Caribbean Sea. On the west, we have the lagoon areas. So we'll take a short break, and when we come back, Mr. Billy will tell us about his experience with Hurricane Keith and Hurricane Mitch.
Welcome to Caribbean Sprinter. We're honored to be your water transportation choice in Belize. Caribbean Sprinter is the fastest, most reliable water transport in the country. Our ferries are equipped with everything you'll need for your island hopping adventures, local transport, and vacation needs. We're proud to have the most advanced ticketing and reservation system in the country. We offer multiple sailings daily between Belize City, Cape Cocker, and San Pedro. Our checked luggage tracking system allows you to rest at ease and enjoy the beautiful views during your journey. We take pride in maintaining and servicing our vessels to make sure we're always on time and ready for your next trip. Once again, thank you for choosing Caribbean Sprinter and welcome aboard. We look forward to your next voyage with us.
Welcome back. As we continue, we have Mr. Billy Leslie with us in studio today, talking about Hurricane Preparedness 2025. Mr. Billy, what would be your advice and caution those with special needs and disability on the island as an emergency responder, knowing your roles and responsibilities to the San Pedro EOC?
Ms. Vanessa, as we have mentioned throughout the discussion, planning is very important. And we can never forget that sometimes we have to think about people that don't have all the mobility that many of us have. You have people that are on wheelchairs. You have people that are on beds. You have people that have certain disabilities. We have to make sure that first and foremost we think of them and safely move them to some of our safer locations. And I think we have identified one of those places, which is the St. Paul Center in the DFC area, no? One of the stronger built buildings around that area. But we need to ensure that we do those as one of the first things to do, so that we can then start to move other people as they need. But for people with disabilities, please think of moving very early to a safe place so that you can settle properly, so that we can go through the storm. That is very key, to move them very early.
Mr. Billy, can you speak to us on your experience as a San Pedrano? What Hurricane Mitch was like and Hurricane Keith was like, so that our younger generations who are residents tuning in, that they may refer to their experiences, and for the younger generations to know how dangerous these storms were.
Yes, Ms. Vanessa, as we keep discussing about storms and hurricanes, we have to understand that none of them are the same. The planning becomes difficult because we don't know what they will come with. I recall Hurricane Mitch, a big storm brewing in the Caribbean, becoming a very powerful Category 5 monster, and we made a decision within the town where we participated, some of us, in planning and what to do in times of hurricanes, and we decided that we're going to evacuate people from San Pedro. The water taxis were not as beautiful and large as they are today, but we used every available water taxi. We used many private vessels to carry people to the city. We even used barges, landing barges, to put people in there. A landing barge could carry up to 700 people at a time, evacuating people very fast, because a Category 5 would really put San Pedro underwater. 1-2-story buildings would have water inside of them. So we had to plan, we had to move. Fortunately, and it proves to us that we are blessed, that this storm turned and headed towards Honduras, Guatemala, Mexico, the Gulf of Mexico, and eventually over Florida. But it did cause a lot of damage from rain. It damaged every building on the coast. Every building that's on water was uprooted, lifted up, and thrown on the beach. Here, you clean that. That's what it said to us. And it's not only San Pedro, it's on the northern part from Escalac all the way down, going all as far as PG. Everything that was on water was uprooted, lifted, and thrown somewhere else. It taught us that we did the first good part of evacuating people, and we evacuated a majority between the water taxis, the private boats, and the planes, because all of these will have a cutoff when they cannot travel. The ones on water depend on the Port Authority, the ones on air depend on the civil aviation. So we had to use our time effectively and move as much people as we could. I ended up moving and going all the way over to Benque with my family. Upon being there, I was called back and said, we have a few elders still left on the island. And I'm going like, but you know, these people had time. We moved, we used all these different boats. Why didn't they move? Can you please come and get them? I said, okay, I'll sacrifice myself and my vessel to go back. When coming back from Belize City here, the water is filled with all kinds of wood, logs, everything is in the water. It was very difficult to travel. But I made it by coming behind all the islands and eventually came back through the San Pedro Lagoon and at the fuel station. And when I arrived at the fuel station, there it was. 5 guys that were caught stealing property. There were no elderly people. I was lied to. And I was furious. I was mad because I left my family to come and help somebody, and the persons I came here to help was not the ones. I was mad. Those guys that are caught stealing should be tied in the docks in front and let Mother Nature take care of them. That's what I think of them. Nevertheless, the Mitch one was a lot of structural damage on the coast, and a lot of water damage because it brought rain. The experience with Keith was a total different experience. You cannot say, okay, I've passed a hurricane, I know what to do with hurricanes. It's a total different story, where a small storm comes in front of your island and starts to build. The problem Keith brought is that Keith stationed itself between San Pedro and Key Cocker, a very small, compact storm, battering us for hours and hours. Now since the eye is over the eastern water, that means all of your winds will come from the back. The mangroves was our life savior. It saved us from a lot of water damage. But that is where we hide the boats, in the mangroves. So what happened to the boats? All the boats were moved from the back there, thrown on the back street, thrown on areas. I mean, we found a vessel that was tied at the boatyard in the middle of the airstrip with not one scratch on it, sitting right on the runway. But many of the boats were back there. I had my own personal experience there where my neighbor behind me, DJ Debbie, had her twins, her daughter who is a real estate agent, and she had a friend with other little babies there. And the rain is falling and the rain is falling, and they were on a high ground. The floor is cement, so that was good structure, but the roof was leaking and their ceiling was sheetrock. So the rain went in, the rain fell, the sheetrock fell right on top of them. And I heard the screams. So I walked, my land is higher than the one at the back. So I walked from there, made myself across to the other property. Water was all the way up to my knees by then. And I walked up to their house and I looked at the damage. I said, listen, your place is not safe to go. Why don't we try to go over to my house? So we walked back. The storm is at the height now. Things are flying. My front neighbor, the whole roof flew right in front of us when we were crossing. Wow. And it landed right at the high school. So the wind was high, there was rain, there was water, so all kinds of damage is coming. So I said to them, listen, do not unpack your belongings. If the water table goes higher, then that means my house is no safe anymore. We will go across to the high school. But that was the highest part the water went, which did not reach my floor, but it did flood my bodega at the back. So the water was high in that portion. So each storm possesses different types, but it is important that you listen carefully to the advice of Nemo coming through Reef Radio and do things early so that you don't have to venture into these stories. If I was not a member of Nemo, I would be the first to leave San Pedro and go drink a beer maybe in Mexico or somewhere else and watch the storm on TV. That would be the adequate thing. We have opportunities to insure things, to protect things, but even if we don't, we can rebuild those. When we choose to stay during a storm against the advice of people leading this management, then we choose to put our lives in danger. We choose to put other people that help us in danger. So it's really important. Stories, and I know many other adults in this community have their own stories which they lived. But the key thing here that we want to have people understand, if we have to move, let's move. We are on an island. No island is safe when you have storms, because just the water table puts you underwater. Category 2, which was Keith, brought 6 foot of water. which made most of San Pedro underwater. Mitch, we are fortunate that it did not hit us, it turned around, but that wave action did cause a lot of coastal damage. Let's move when we're asked to move. Let's go and safely wait out the storm somewhere else. If we lose property, we can replace that property. If we stay and we lose lives, then we're not doing the right thing.
Thank you, Mr. Billy. As you've heard him educate us on the fisher folks and how they go about securing their vessels during, and post-hurricane, he spoke on what it is to be a member of the Search and Rescue Committee, of his roles and responsibility, safeguarding our loved ones, especially those with special needs and disability, and also gave us a snippet of remembrance for Hurricane Mitch and Hurricane Keith. Mr. Billy, just for educational purposes, so our residents could really grasp the level of vulnerability that we have living on these islands, surrounded east by the Caribbean Sea and west by the lagoons, like you mentioned. Mr. Bill, can you please tell our populace, our residents, for both San Pedro and Key Cocker, what it would be like to have storm surges and both tidal floodings at the same time, and the threats that they may encounter, whether it's environmental threats from the wildlife, whether it's debris. Can you educate us a little bit on that, Mr. Billy?
Yes, Ms. Vanessa, you will note that these storms, they come in with a water table first, and then the wind generates waves. You find that the biggest threat to these would be that we have removed all our protective ecosystems from the front. We are cutting off all the mangroves. We are dredging away all of the seagrass beds. We are, in some areas of our island, digging out big holes to sell sediment and substrate to fill out other areas. We damage an area and we go to bury another area. Both of these areas become threats because they are not structurally hard. They are recently placed. So these waves come and they move all of that. Some people have septic tanks. Some people are connected within the water and sewer treatment. We have the open sewer treatment on the south. All of these things become threats to our health when that water table comes, and all of that becomes underwater. It mixes. All of that mixes. Then you mix all of this contamination, and that contamination, when the water settles down, stays within your properties. You walk on these areas and you then take it into your homes. We contaminate the water system. There are a lot of things that will happen to us health-wise because of the nature of these storms of bringing water. So that's why it's important to heed to these warnings and instructions to move when we are asked to move, to be safely buttoned down if we choose not to move, and button down until it's all gone, not button down and then scream for help in the middle of a storm, because help will be so hard to come to you. Water, we have to ensure that we have prepared water, bottled water. If the bottled water runs out, well, then let's learn to boil water to make it safe to drink, because contamination, when water table comes up, is shared amongst the whole area.
Thank you, Mr. Billy. We just wanted for our residents to understand what are the risks in staying and how vulnerable you are being surrounded by the Caribbean Sea to the east and by the lagoons to the west when it comes to the water tables, as he spoke about, rising when it comes to storm surges and tidal floodings. Thank you, Mr. Billy, for joining us in studio today in educating our residents of Belize Rural South. on your roles and responsibility as the president of the Tour Guide Association, as a member of the Search and Rescue Committee for NEMO, and also as an emergency responder, and your experiences lived with both Hurricane Mitch and Keith. Thank you, Mr. Billy.
You're welcome, Ms. Parham, and thank you, San Pedranos, all of the residents in San Pedro and in Key Cocker. Thank you so much, and I hope that our message is coming across. And if you have family members that are disabled or need extra help, please let's think of them first. Please let's think of them first.
Electricity is essential for everyday life, but behind every outlet, a lot is happening to bring you safe, reliable, and sustainable energy. Let's start at the beginning.